these students still cannot afford the loan to pay back the loan. There are families who prevent their children from going into tertiary education simply because they don't have money to do so. There are students who are, very, very smart, very excelling in in their studies, but they cannot continue the studies in universities because they cannot afford to. Now, no, thank you. Now, the mechanism in which we will establish this system is that we would have a quota um, of how much, for example, how many students from certain family income range, and then, like for example, family with high income this much, and then family with low income this much. So in the end, the total fee that the university will receive will be the same, more or less, before and after the system, because we will make sure that the system will not will not will not make loopholes possible for universities to just simply get more money by only accepting students from high income, right? So we will make sure that like for example, now is fixed, right? The fee is fixed. So there's a fixed amount of student that can enroll. So every student pay the same amount. Okay, so the system we're trying to establish is that students from low income pay less than students from high income families. So in the end, the total fees that university get will be the same before and after the system. So this is not a system that will benefit the university financially, because it will be the same. Okay, so how much? How would we make sure that these students or the students' families will not manipulate the statement, like income statement, for people who doesn't have income statement? For example, like even now, for like financial help in schools, for example, they need they need income statement, right? Some people don't have income statement because they don't work in certain company. For example, farmers. For example, people who work on their own. People who maybe make businesses on their own at home, maybe they don't have income statement, and therefore, how would we make sure that these people who doesn't have income statement don't manipulate their income? We would require approval from local people who are authorized, a few, not just one. For example, like head of the village, or like officer in that particular area. So yes, so the government side supports the motion. This house would institute a family income-based tuition fee system in universities, because higher education should be accessible to all. And with that, I rest my case.
Thank you to the Prime Minister for her speech. Now, please welcome the first speaker of the opposition team to open the case for their side.
Am I audible? Is there any noise that may interrupt my speech? If ada, just tell me so.
I know you're clear.
Okay, before that, I have a question. Memang timer ni tak ada bunyi Sebab macam bunyi ketingga every 1 minute. Memang tak ada
Let me retry. Is the bell
My speech is Mr. Speaker, the government hasn't clearly proved to us how their mechanism work because what I can understand from how the government is trying to propose is the question of equity versus equality. And they believe that with the equity, everyone have the equal access to the education because they have to pay less if they are poor, and if they are rich, they have to pay more. However, it comes to a question because the government doesn't take into account of the question of commitment of one's family income, family background. For example, my income is let's say 110,000 per year, but I have two wives and I have seven children. So with that being said, it is I have a huge commitment and I have to pay a lot, and the government did not clearly clarify with how the family income base taking care of how the commitment of one's family may affect their tuition fee, and that is the lack of their mechanism. And this is my first rebuttal: the lack of accountability or taking account about the commitment of one's family. And second is they are talking about whether the affordability and I'm sorry, the question of affordability and accessibility. So the government says like this: with when the government when there are rich pay more and the poor pay less, it will still equate the same amount as the current system. Why? Because the rich pay more and the poor pay less. But it comes to a question whether we cannot ensure how many T20 for example in Malaysia, we cannot ensure how many T20 students in have been admitted and how many P40 students have been admitted in every university. So we cannot the inconsistency of the financial or the annual income of the university, if they applicate this the system, would be very inconsistent, and that is I will explain that further in my argument. So we want to give a certain contextualization first. So before I'm talking about my argument, I want to talk about the nature of university itself. The nature of university is a profit-based company. Regardless, even in this IIUM with the Islamic value, still we are a profit-based company. So it is, first of all, it is naturally and factually not our job to care about your income. It is our job to educate you, to provide you a service for you to have to become a product of ours, of the university. And second of all, it is not their job to do this kind of system, because even though they are, if the government is trying to say that they are morally obligated, I can simply say that this is the government's matter rather than the university, because the university wants to find profit, whereas the government have to take care of the welfare of their student. And that is why the existence of scholarship exists. And it is also a solution of how the government's problem exist, or the problems that the government have been worrying of, which is they cannot afford. We have scholarships. If you are B40 and you are Excel, you can apply for scholarship. In fact, there are numerous scholarships that wants to help you, and if they are a government agency, they are catering on the B40 student in our context, Mr. Speaker. And we all know some of the very super rich scholarship, and that is based on the meritocracy. But currently, the government-based agency offer the scholarship for those who it needs. Therefore, there is no proper reasons if there are no questions if you are Excel and I am poor, therefore I cannot afford to pay the tuition fees, because the scholarship exists. And that is and that is the nature of university. So our stance is this: wait a second. We categorically oppose the motion because we believe that the fixed system are becoming more consistent, more well planned, and more proper organization. And before that, yes.
Okay, so you told me about scholarship, right? So you say that the students who are getting into universities, they're going to provide, even if they're having low family income, they're going to provide full type of scholarship, even though there are so many students. So you're saying that the university is still gonna provide them scholarship, even though they really don't want to give it to the whole like students who are going to apply for it. I'll repeat it. I'm sorry. Like there are students who apply for scholarship and still don't get it just because of a small percentage of mark. Okay, so I'm asking you, would universities be more liberal even though if you don't put this family income stuff? So like, can you provide scholarship for most majority of the students who are
Okay,
coming from?
I am sorry, but your POI is too long and I can barely understand. But I believe that my third speaker or the second speaker can answer your question. But based on my understanding, we believe that if you are super and utterly poor and you cannot provide a proper education because of the fixed system, I think it's literally unfair because even if the tuition fee would be less, but you still cannot afford, then your mechanism are not actually answering the problem. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'll move into my argument, which is first the inconsistent income, which is because first of all, the problem that have been the government side is because the system is extremely inconsistent and the unstable financial status of the university. We never know how much which students are going to admit in UIA for this year and for the next year and the next 2 years. So they cannot properly plan. And basically, if there are so many B40 students are going to admit into the UIA, the UIA basically doesn't have enough income. Why? Because they cannot pay their staff accordingly, and they cannot give the money to create a program, to create this Rector'S Cup. Why? Because they don't have enough money because the B40 students pay less. And there are so many B40 students for that year. But whatever to the next year, the T20 are so much. So the inconsistent is becoming a problem because they cannot well plan and they cannot well organize, which is our stance, as I said. We want to work where university can properly plan their financial. So why is this important? Because right now we believe that with the system that was given, the system may get exploited by the rich. We also which my second prime minister, my second leader of opposition will explain later. So with that, I am proposed.
I'd like to thank the opposition leader for the speech, and now I'll call upon the Deputy Prime Minister of the government team to continue the debate for their side.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know that we are talking about universities. So it's like basically like about students too. Students' life depends upon their families, their experience, their surroundings, and etc. And that's how they are gonna live their future until the end. So what we wanna say is that before getting into my arguments, I would like to rattle some points that the leader of opposition has talked about. He first pointed out that the commitment of the family in this system. Okay. Now let me ask you one thing. You have 2 wives, 7 children in one go. I mean, you have children and 7 children. Now, how is your commitment between them? How are you gonna, divide your amount, you divide your salary instead making them steady? And let me tell you this: even though you have 7 children, stuff, everyone is not going to the same university for the same amount of period. So let's be realistic, guys. Let's be realistic. I don't think that's okay. I understand the commitment between the families and stuff. What we have told about is that we have made a mechanism where we actually divide the amount of income of the family when there are multiple children of their own each family. So that's what my teammate has told about in her argument. Now, second thing I would like to rebuttal is about the profit base. Let me tell you this: universities are also gonna get profit even though they uphold this system, because first thing, they're gonna get more opportunities. They're gonna as we have known, like when you know that these universities can give you this amount of like we have known that these universities can give you this kind of scholarship. So people tend to go more into that universities. Same like that, when universities cap these systems, they basically, there will be more amount of people who is also going to go in there rather like than the normal. So suppose like in my countries, we want to study MBBS in this university, but there are so many students who can't really afford it. So if the universities apply this system, there that university is going to get more amount of students and have more amount of profit-based stuffs, like, and it will apply this system. So second thing, what you have talked about scholarship. My question was that there's like as I've told, there are so many amount of students who's going to apply, and there are so many students who's literally whose family is under living in the low income. So there are so many universities which we say that there are people who applied for scholarship, but they failed to get it due to a 1% percentage of mark. So I wanted to ask the opposition, like, can, even if the system is not here or not implemented or there, this scholarship can be provided to all students who have a low financial family income for like 100% guaranteed or like 80% guaranteed. Sorry. We have talked, and other thing is proper education. Yeah, of course. Come on, man. It doesn't bring that we are gonna have proper education if you pay less and if you do that. We were saying is that about the tuition. We are also going to provide proper education. It's just about the fees that the family is going to pay. Now, coming to my arguments. First argument I want to bring up is that there will be less burden of loans onto the family, because one thing, there are more families who rely on these loans just to educate their children, and they want the children in the best universities. They want the children to be best educated, but they but they, to one point, they can't afford it. They find themselves in guilty just because they cannot afford them to go in that particular university the child wants to. So they prefer loan and get into those, and they have these debt burdens. So we can less that things so that these are convenient for these families to educate their children according to their satisfaction. I'm sorry. Next, I want to talk about other argument I want to say is that there will be the barrier between the rich universities or the rich people and the poor people, or the poor, the low-income families will be removed. Now, why is this true? Because there are universities who have this expensive stuff, so expensive fees, and there are literally talented students. Even though they provide scholarship, they fail to get in because just because they think that the scholarship doesn't stay all the time. They have to work hard. So if one crisis occurs in their family, if they goes down, they still have to go out. So universities might take in consideration of that. So we say that these discrimination between the rich and the poor can be literally removed, because now the poor or the low-income family students or the children can learn with the rich people or with the people who are having a good income, or who's in high level, and get their experience and become friends with stops. So I guess these barriers can be extremely removed from these kind of universities, because we know that there's many universities who's literally divided. Like, come on, like one side is it's very expensive and one is very, so I'm going to put my child in this university. So it's like the parents is also not satisfied to one extent. Now, other thing I want to point out is that they're beneficial for the universities too. As I've told, more opportunities, and we are not going to take this system in one go. We are going to slowly proceed in one by one, step by step. We are not going to, impose the universities and oblige them and do it right now and they get down on the floor. We understand we are in this reality world. We understand in one go everything can collapse. So we want it to be taken in slow process. Now, what is the mechanism we are talking about is as my teammate have told about, is providing quota and having a diverse student body, so that these students can also get into these universities after filling up these proper forms, which are actually confirmed with the other peoples. So that's a mechanism we bring in this system, so that none of there's equality between, as my teammate has told, the equality between the people who is rich or poor, having high income or low income, and and yeah, and it's gonna be more secure, even though we are not living in this world. We'll try our best to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Now I call upon the Deputy Opposition Leader to continue the case for their side.
All right, thank you. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So as we all know, that today's topic is this House would institute a family income-based tuition fee system in universities. And we, as the opposition team, we oppose this topic because, well, from the topic itself, we can say that it's quite discriminatory in nature, you know? Basically, it implies rich pays more, poor pays less. Now, if we follow, you know, the government's proposal, basically, it draws more resources from the university, you know, because basically, rich families, they can cheat their way in the system, you know? And so why is it important for us to protect like the university's resources? Because, well, the university, it needs adequate funding because like it's crucial to maintain like quality education. And because university, well, it's for quality education and it's a place to drive research and innovation. In a way, it helps it with proper funding, it helps them hire experienced and knowledgeable people, invest in modern equipment and facilities, and you know, provide a wide range of academic resources. And now I will go with my argument basically, which is suggesting an alternative, because I do realize that when it comes to the government, they were really focusing on lessening on how the issue is finance, right? So our alternative is keep the status quo, tax the rich more. Now, you see, taxing the rich more, it can like help address like income equality in society. So wealthier people, they have like a greater capacity to like contribute more to the public. And in this case, education. So the money that is taken from taxes will be redistributed to create a society that focuses more on equality. So where everyone, they have essential access, they have access to like services, including quality education. And it's less easier for them to cheat the system when it comes to taxes, because we have more auditing we have more auditing of these rich people. Why? Because it comes with the law, you know? Tax evasion comes with severe legal consequences. And in a way, when we tax the rich more, it strengthens public education funding, which is what we want. So this funding, it can be utilized to improve infrastructure, enhance teaching resources, and like expand educational opportunities for students. Is anyone going to give me a POI? No?
I would like.
Yes?
Do you think that cheating by the parents or rich people you're talking about is going to increase if we put it on or implement this system? And you're saying that cheating by the parents to safeguard is not happening right now?
Wait, excuse me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but like I didn't quite get your question.
Okay, so I'm asking, like, you talked about cheating by the rich people or the parents, right?
Yes, I did.
So, do you think if you implement the system, it's gonna get increased just because you have the system and it's gonna be really badly manipulated right now, and now it's not at all happening by them? Like, do you think it's gonna increase so badly? Like, cheating is also happening. Like, it's our world. No one is perfect. Even though we implement, it's gonna happen. So, what's the problem with that?
What's the problem with taxing the rich more, you mean? Because that's what we're going for. We want to tax the rich more, and because like when you want to like make a family income based tuition fee system, they won't check one by one, whether um the whether the parents have submitted like their real salaries, and like they could just cheat their way into it to like pay less. But when it comes to taxes, it's more rigid because there's like laws involved in it. So that's what I was explaining. Does that, yeah. Yes.
You're saying about taxing the rich more to increase the funding, right?
Yes. It's not just taxing the rich more; it's taxing. Oh yeah, basically yeah, taxing the rich more.
Yeah,
taxing people
so
more.
I'm sorry, making the people who have higher income pay more in university, is it not also a way to increase the funding?
Is it not a way to increase the funding, making people pay more? Yes, but when people tax, I mean, yes, but then there's the chances of the system being cheated on. And yes, well, this also helps with the funding, but as my leader of opposition explained earlier, this system, it's very inconsistent. So there might be times where the university might lack funding, and there might be times where the university might, have fundings. The system is very inconsistent, which is what I'm trying to say. So, yes, I guess like that is all right. And you know what? Even if you gotta pay more, at least they got more opportunities. At least the students got more opportunities because the money used from taxes will be funneled back to university. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Opposition Leader. Now, let's welcome the government whip to the floor.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am the government whip. I will carry on the task of rebutting the misguided points given by the leader of opposition and also the deputy leader of opposition. Next, I will conclude the debate by strengthening why government's world is ideal. Okay. So, in leader of opposition's speech, he was saying that all of the things about commitment, right? So, you're saying that how about the families that have high commitment, even though they are considered as high family income, right? So that's why we are trying to create a system where it will be a standard so that it will be easier to manage. That's why we are trying to impose or establish this tuition fee system where it will be based on family income. It will be easier to manage. That's the only thing. And both of the leader of opposition and also the deputy leader of opposition are talking about poor pay less and rich pay more. It's the concept of distributive justice. Are you not guiding it? But you also stated and make it your solution to tax the rich more. I mean, like we are making it an issue. The quiet discrimination in nature grabs more resources from the university. You're making it an issue, and your solution is only to tax the rich more, not helping the low-income family. What
Wait,
we are trying
POI, please.
No, I'm trying to explain first. Okay. And you also stated that it's not a university's job to care about the low incomes, but it's university's jobs only to educate, and there is scholarship in those in need. All right. Okay. Scholarship is given to both parties, to low family income and also high family income, right? And you stated that it's government's job to manage the welfare of the students. That's what we are trying to do. We are trying to manage or care for students' welfare through the university. We are trying to establish this system in university. That means that it's our job to take care of the welfare of the students from low-income family. Okay, and you're saying that the fixed
POI, please.
is more proper because the inconsistencies of receiving apa tu? About receiving the okay each year you're saying that there are high
Please, POI.
income students. Yes.
Okay, so isn't taxing the rich more supposed to help the low income students because the money from the taxes will be redistributed?
Okay, so right now, rich people is even struggle with no subsidies from the government, right? So we are not trying to impose taxes more on high income family just because they are required to pay. I mean, like, we are just trying to help those from low income family so just they can enter into education without we make it as a matter about their socio-economic status. Okay, so in our world, we are trying to establish this tuition fees system in universities just because we thought it will make it easier for students from low-income families to further studies in higher education. We are not trying to make poor pay less or rich pay more. I mean, like, is taxing the rich more equals to higher tuition fee for high income? Okay, we are trying to help those students from low-income families to have education without having the socio-economics background preventing them from having brighter future. We are trying to implement the system slowly. The process of establishing it slowly. We are trying to encourage every student, no matter of their social caste, to receive equal education. So that's why we're trying to impose or establish this tuition fee system based on family income first, because it's easier to manage that way. We are not trying to say that in your world it will be impossible for low-income students to receive education. No, there is scholarship, like you said, right? But the scholarship is given to both of the parties. We are trying to make it accessible to low-income students too, to receive equal education and to give them opportunities to learn, to have brighter future. And the purpose of this tuition fee is to decrease the burden that people of low-income class will carry just in order to get a brighter future, to get a education in higher level. Okay, and I will try to rebut that. Both of you stated that you are scared that universities are not making any profit just because universities are profit-based. What do we say? Profit-based establishment, right? Okay, so what we are trying to tell you guys, even my prime minister stated that there are quota that we are trying to implement, and the amount of high income students and also low income students are the same. And the before and after the implementation of the system, the fees received by the university will be much more the same. Okay, so before I sit down, I would like to clarify that we from the government side would like this motion to stand just because we stand with our stance. Higher education system should be accessible to all. That's all from me. I rest the case. Thank you.
Thank you to the government whip for the speech. Last but not least, I welcome the opposition whip to the floor.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Side government has a very naive outlook on how universities actually function. They start off with the preconceived notion that universities all cost upwards of 100,000 and it's literally not affordable for anyone to apply to a university. That is the kind of world that they're painting on our side, and that is a burden that we refuse to accept. Why is this? First of all, they say that I'll go on to my rebuttals and then I'll integrate some of them into my clashes. Okay, so first of all, I want to say that they say that these students cannot go to uni because of family struggles and they have no money, and we say that that's actually a good thing because it pushes these students to be more competitive, to win these scholarships, to be able to actually get into the universities and get their families out of the financial poverty hole that they are currently in. Okay, moreover, they say that the commitments of the family, and this is something about how you divide money between 7 children. I don't quite understand the POI, but I will posit this, that in their world, having to separate what little money you have between your 7 children is already so hard of a thing to do, because instead of that, we on our side offered to mitigate this problem by having taxation, so that money not only goes directly to the universities, is also able to circulate back into the community. So there is a practical effect there that side government fails to recognize. And they say that what's the difference between taxation and what is currently happening in the motion? There is a distinguishment to be made in this case, and I will highlight more on that later. They also say that universities have expensive fees and students can get scholarship. And like I said, you make it sound like you have to pay 100,000 ringgit for every single university in Malaysia. And it's a very naive look on how universities actually look, because more often than not, people who go to universities are M40 students, are B40 students in this public university circle. T20 students are going to private universities. They're going to all of these overseas universities. They don't have time for public universities. Public universities under the status quo have already so many mechanisms such as scholarships. They have mechanisms such as like grants. They have mechanisms such as subsidies for these students to be able to already pay less. So why are you making it so that there is a discrepancy whereby suddenly all of these rich people have to compensate for what these poor people are not being able to pay for, which is fair, but think about it like this, okay? In a room of 9 to 1, let's say 9 B40 students and 1 T20 students. 9 B40 students all have to pay 5K for the tuition fees. Suddenly this T20 student have to pay 100K. How in any semblance, in any sense, how does that sound fair in the slightest? It's not, because okay, yeah, you're distributing the wealth, you're making it so that you guys don't lose any returns, don't lose any profits, because everyone's covering for each other. We tell you that it's not fair because one person has to pay 5,000 ringgit and another person has to pay upwards of 900 times more of what the other person is paying. And we tell that, and we tell you that is morally and principally unfair and unjust. Okay. Another thing, wait, Shazia PUI, that who's to say that this is mutually exclusive on our side? The thing is that the whole purpose of your thing, of your motion, of your thing that you're trying to push, is that you want to have institute a family income based on this tuition fee system in universities. Sorry, okay. Shazia says that who's to say that corruption isn't mutually exclusive on our side? How these rich people aren't able to gain the system? And we say this. The thing is that the difference is that something happens on our side, but it happens even on your side, and it's worse on your side, because the thing is that the whole purpose of your motion, or the whole purpose of this policy that you're pushing, is to be able to cause equality and equity between the students. The moment that someone doesn't do that, your policy goes out of the window and the purpose is just thrown out of the window, because someone is taking away the rights and someone is taking away the opportunities that these poor people could have gotten because they're underreporting their income. And and you try to give a mechanism to counter this, but we tell you that this draws resources from the university and the government because they have to fact check the fact checkers, and government takes like hundreds and thousands of years to get something done. So you want to fact check the fact checkers. By the time they're actually able to get fact checked, nothing is the university student has probably already waited a few months when they could have actually spent time studying. So it takes away time from the university and it takes away time from the students. Okay. You also say that never mind. Okay, I'll move on to my clashes right now. There's two main clashes in this debate. First of all, which side best caters to the students, and secondly, which side best caters to the university. To this extent, two things that I want to say. Okay, three things rather. First thing, on their side, the system has students from higher income covering up the lower income students, as I previously mentioned. The problem with this is that what if one intake has all B40s? Okay, how do you counter that? How do you counter the profit incentivized purpose of which a university is propelled that makes the decisions upon? Okay, what if the intake is all before this? How do you mitigate the fact that these universities are unable to recuperate the losses, are unable to make as much as they could make under our world where everything is consistent, everyone's paying the same, but you get subsidies, grants, and scholarships that the government inputs so that you are able to have more of a level playing field compared to other people. Okay? So we tell you that our side is better for three reasons. First of all, it pushes for meritocracy, and three reasons under this. Sorry, okay. So first of all, students become more competitive, and they become more competitive to get better results for uni. Under your side, they are less incentivized to do this because they have to pay less, and so they'll think like, why should I work so hard when I already get into uni? I don't need to care so much about scholarship fees. Food isn't too expensive in universities. I can just settle it that way. Under our side, there's an incentive for them to be able to get into the uni, to be able to sustain themselves in the university via the scholarships that they want to work for. Secondly, under our side, there's a more equal distribution of wealth. Okay? Okay, and now on to the point of which side best caters to the university. First, I want to highlight here the difference between taxation and what you are proposing. Taxes are multi-purpose. Yours is strictly education oriented. So instead of being able to solve the root problem of solving poverty within a certain society, you just let them go to university and then figure out the rest later. Like, who cares, right? Okay. So we tell you that the taxes that we put on the rich people can get redirected to the poor families, so it solves this root problem in that sense. Okay. Moreover, you need to make more consistent returns because in a situation in our situation, it's everyone has to pay the same, and everyone can get similar benefits such as scholarships, etc. Okay, and on your side, this just doesn't happen, and for all those reasons, never been proud to oppose.
Thank you, Opposition Whip. Now it is time for the preparation of reply speeches. The time given for each team will be 1 minute. Debaters, please use the 1 minute to prepare your reply speeches. It is now time for the reply speeches, starting first with the opposition. Please welcome the opposition team to make their summary.
Can you guys like give me like 30 seconds? I have to install. Okay. Can you guys hear my voice clearly?
Yes.
Wait, okay. Okay. I'm starting 3, 2, 1. Mr. Speaker, since this debate, we are talking about one main thing, which is are we opposition side or the government side catering for the students? It shows that our sides, the government, we cannot agree, we cannot disagree that the government is fighting for the students. Yes, by proposing the mechanism that was given by them, but we believe that, and however, we believe that our side giving a better mechanism because we already giving you the counter mechanism, and but our side also are fighting for the university. We are not. We do know the students occasion or welfare is more important. However, but the mechanism that was given the government will even more burdening the universities, and it will impact for their education and the management itself. Yes, the government will solve the problem for their side, for the students. However, it will make the students, the university side, worse, and even some part for the students, as said by our side, especially from the whip and the leader, the deputy leader of opposition. So the first, the government continuously feels like the fee system is more effective than taxes. However, our side already explained to you how this fee system is going to be inconsistent. It's not just going to be unfair. However, and it also comes to my realization where if the tuition fee is based on the income for all universities, it will create a disparity between those the rich and the poor, and the government also is saying that the taxing the rich is not going to help the low income student. And to be honest, we already explained that by taxing the rich is going to be more universal approach. We are going to subsidizing more and more towards on the university, because the rich in this context are not just specifically for tuition fees. We are going to tax the rich based on their income statements, based on their assets. However, in this context, they are fighting only for the money that they can get based on the university, whereas our side, we can get a lot more money to subsidize the universities by taxing the rich as its entirety. And also, our side already explained how the inconsistent income may burdening the universities, and we cannot see clearly how we cannot see how the government are going to solve by it, because we never heard how they are going to counter for it, because they do accept the fact that this problem will exist, and that is their worst case scenario, and we don't want that. We do not offer that worst case scenario, because by having a fixed income, by having a fixed tuition fees, plus the opportunity of having a scholarship and subsidizing the universities more by taxing the rich, is better than changing the tuition fee into a family income-based tuition fee system. And to summarize our this debate, we believe that if you want a world where the inequality happens may be solved without interrupting and without creating another problem from another side, vote for the vote for the opposition side. But if you want a world where the problem of inequality happens and being solved with making another problem, vote for the government side. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the speaker for the summary and welcome the last speaker of the government team to sum up for their team and the debate as a whole.
One second. So, participation 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we have been looking at this debate and we have been arguing about most stuff, like many of the stuff. Now, what we government have been trying to say, we have already talked about our mechanisms and stuff that you have been asking us as by our first prime minister. So, and that mechanisms would probably be by providing quota, diverse, having diverse student body in order to have a safeguard university. The forms in order so that there is no manipulation, complete like in a very wide range. And it's like I understand manipulation can happen. We are not living in a perfect world. Manipulation will happen, but we government, we would our mechanism is that we would do it a bit more in a secure way so that it can be less manipulated. And those things have been talked about it by my prime minister. Now, what we are trying, what I wanted to, what I find that our position with finding solution is that they say they tax more to the rich, and that will be more fair enough. And for the universities, and I don't literally get, because is it fair for the rich people itself that you say we are going to tax you more because just you're rich and we're going to distribute it to the poor family? I don't understand that point. Now, what we government are providing solution is for the students who are basically for the low, like coming from the low income family. We are all like talking about what stuff. We are also saying we'll give an opportunity for the students who are coming from the low family income, so that they, like, students have they want to get in these specific universities that they dreamed of. So we government are trying to give them an opportunity to get into by implementing the system into our government. So that's how our solution is. So it is basically to make it fair for the students who is actually dreaming of one university. They want to get it, but they can't. And there are many suicidal kids too, but not talking about it because they can't. Now, what we believe in the system is that it can help the people on the family also. And we are focusing on the low family people, because we know that even though we don't apply the system, we don't have the system, the rich and the poor people are also, it's going to study in this public universities and this private universities. We know that. But when it comes like this system is implemented in a more, in a more good way, it's gonna these even the public universities out there, universities will get more opportunities so that they get more students for them itself. So it's like a benefit for the university itself. We're not only talking about the benefit for the people also, we're talking about the university's benefit also. Now, the opposition have talked about tax and stuff. We understand we have taxation, distribution, and all. Okay, that might be a good solution for you guys. So we are also trying to give a solution where we say that we can also, you have a solution that you provide more money to the rich, like tax rich more. We are saying that even though you tax the rich more, we are saying it. Even though we don't know it's gonna reach the poor, that family who has low income and not, we are not aware of it. We don't know what's happening. As we say, we have a naive knowledge. Okay, I understand. Now, other thing is that scholarship that the opposition have been talking about, and we also talked about. We wanted to conclude by saying that we will also it's not that after this system we are taking back all the scholarships. No, scholarship will also be present, it's also be given up, but there is this system implemented so that it helps the low income families mainly. So that's it, I conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the speakers for the great debate. Dearest Judge, you have a maximum of 10 minutes to give your verbal adjudications. Please be reminded that this is a silent round, so there will be um no no results.
All right. So just a confirmation, you are giving me 10 minutes to decide and then I'll give you the ballots, is it?
Yes.
All right, all right.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Saudara bukan tak ada OA ke, sorry?
The judge have 10 minutes to decide, and then you can just give your comments, but not the results.
Oh, you mean I can give my comments but not the results?
Yes.
Okay. Hello guys. So I think there's some confusion here. So since it is silent round, right? I don't think I can give any oral education at all. So you can just leave the room, and I'll just straight away give my decision.
Okay, thank you, Aris.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Testing, testing.